Now the question mark for me before this video was, while the Wells Fargo trifecta earns extremely well, how was the portal redemptions with that 1.5 cent per point redemption value?
Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Waller's Wallet, and you know what? The Wells Fargo trifecta, it's starting to get more attention. And while this is a great combination of cards, I wanted to look at if the Wells Fargo travel portal was competitive enough to make this trifecta as good as it seems. Now, if you're someone who likes credit card rewards and learning how to travel for less, consider subscribing to the channel and turning that bell notification on as well. And if you want a simple and free way to help out the channel, give this video a thumbs up because it really does help out the channel. So to see how the Wells Fargo travel portal holds up, I decided to compare it to the Chase travel portal, since I did call this a Chase trifecta alternative, and the Chase trifecta is a very popular setup of cards. I also compared it to Google Flights to see how it was compared to the cash price of tickets. Remember, when we're looking at the Wells Fargo trifecta, you can redeem your points at 1.5 cents per point for airfare through the Wells Fargo travel portal. And with the Chase trifecta, with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you can redeem for 1.5 cents per point for all travel through the Chase travel portal. Now, I took a look at 5 airline examples looking at the lowest cost option for a given route. And what makes these portal comparisons difficult or challenging is that all the routes or airlines are all different and they don't always match between the portals, which is extremely frustrating to me. Because if people don't know the portals don't show the best option and have some sort of variance between them, they believe they're getting the best price or routing for the particular portal they're using, which may not actually be the case. Alright, now let's take a look at our first example, flying from San Francisco to Miami from December 4th to December 11th. And we look at Chase, the cheapest option is flying on United. It would be $271 or just about 18,100 points. And Wells Fargo matches Chase here at $271 and would be at just about 18,100 points as well. Then Google Flights has a slightly cheaper option flying on Delta, coming in at about $263, which would save you about 400 points per person if this was an option, which may not seem like a big deal, but for a family of 4, that's a saving of 1,600 points, and that can really add up over time. Now, there are a couple things to notice though. When you start looking deeper at the portal options, you'll see the Chase travel portal offers you more airlines here. You do get access to Alaska Airlines, although you wouldn't use it at that price, it's still an option. But at the same time, Wells Fargo has some flight options like this American Airlines flight at $275 that Chase does not show. So while the lowest prices are the same, if you were looking to fly another airline, you could be met with different pricing as well as different options. Next, let's take a look flying from Washington, D.C. to Paris from October 3rd to October 10th. And as we look here, Chase, Wells Fargo, and Google Flights all show Icelandair being the lowest cost option at $748, which would be right around 50,000 points for a round-trip flight. And as far as the cheapest option, both Wells Fargo and Chase are the same here once again. But if you were looking at other airline options, Chase has some prices that are better than Wells Fargo, but also Wells Fargo has a couple of options that are better than Chase. These are just a couple of dollar in differences, but it's something to note just in case you didn't want to fly Icelandair. Now, I did fly Icelandair a few years back. I thought they were fantastic, and I even took advantage of their stopover program as well. And using their stopover program is a great way to add extra value to your points or cash back. But I know there are some people out there who might not want to fly Icelandair and would look at other options. Next, let's take a look flying from Seattle to Sydney on November 3rd to November 13th. And here we are getting our first difference. Chase's lowest cost option is flying on ANA for just a little over $1,100, and the point cost here would be a little over 74,300 points. Now, Wells Fargo is offering a multi-carrier option, flying Alaska Airlines for one leg and Fiji Airlines for the other, for just $838 or just under 56,000 points round trip. And Google Flights also shows the same flight as Wells Fargo at $838. And in this example, Wells Fargo is 33% cheaper than Chase, which is just nuts to me. And again, this is where the portals really frustrate me, because it makes it just so hard for people to know if they're getting the best deal or even if all options are available to you. And when you look, Wells Fargo has the better option here in terms of cash costs as well as points. It's not even close. But as you look beyond that $838 fare, you'll notice Chase has ANA options at lower cost compared to Wells Fargo. Then when you start digging deeper into the portals, you'll see that both Chase and Wells Fargo have options that aren't available to both travel portals. For example, that $838 fare on Wells Fargo is being flown on Alaska and Fiji Airways. And while that specific option isn't an option over on Chase, the cheapest option with Chase through Alaska Airlines is about $1,900. So if you have Chase points here, you don't have access to the best option. Now let's take a look at flying from Boston to Nairobi, June 6th to June 13th. And again, we see price difference here between Wells Fargo, Chase, and Google flights, but it might not be what you're expecting. Now all of these flights are being flown on Air France and they're all in economy class. And both Chase and Wells Fargo come in at the cheapest option at $896 or just over 59,700 points round trip. But what's interesting is the price actually changed on the Wells Fargo travel portal while I was in the middle of researching this video. Initially, the price came up around $950, which was more expensive than Chase. And what really strikes me as odd is Google Flights is the most expensive option at $1,018. And I even went to the booking screen of Air France just to make sure that it would price out this way, and sure enough, it did. But again, Chase and Wells Fargo prices are matching, and both are actually better than booking directly with the airline. And lastly, let's take a look at flying from New York to Tokyo, September 10th to September 20th. And here we see everyone is flying on Air China. Chase comes in at $600 or about 40,000 ultimate reward points. Wells Fargo is the same at $600 or 40,000 Go Far reward points. And Google Flights is basically the same. The cash price is only $2 more, which is pretty much negligible. So once again, we see Chase and Wells Fargo be the same price if you were flying on Air China. But there are differences in looking at other carriers, with Wells Fargo having more options at lower prices compared to Chase. But when you look at Chase, they offer more airline options. Even though you won't be using them, it's something to note. Because while in this example, those airlines cost more, if you were to search different dates, they could potentially be lower in price. So having more potential options is always good. Now I realize this is only for airfare and not all travel, because you don't get that uplift for other travel with the Wells Fargo setup. But in these examples, Wells Fargo holds their own and actually outdid Chase in one of these examples, and it was a pretty hefty price difference in that example as well. But there were variances in airline options between these portals, such as airlines you could fly as well as routes. And I'm pretty confident based on the other videos that I've done, there are examples where Chase is going to have lower prices than Wells Fargo. And actually we almost saw that in one example until Wells Fargo adjusted pricing midway through my research. Now the question mark for me before this video was, while the Wells Fargo trifecta earns extremely well, how was the portal redemptions with that 1.5 cent per point redemption value? Because if those prices were extremely inflated or had poor options to using your points, then it reduces the value of those points. And based on these 5 examples, I would say the Wells Fargo setup is definitely a viable alternative to Chase if you're someone who uses your points for economy airfare. And just like the other travel portals that we've seen, the Wells Fargo travel portal, it's not perfect. And when it comes to these travel portals, I no longer say you're going to get 1.5 cents per point in value. I've started saying you're going to get up to 1.5 cents per point in value because of the pricing variances that we've seen amongst these travel portals. And remember, you only get that 1.5 cent per point in value with your Wells Fargo setup for airfare. So if you're someone looking to use your Go Far rewards for hotels, activities, maybe even cruises, you don't get that uplift and you'd only be redeeming at 1 cent per point. So you still may not like this setup. But the Wells Fargo trifecta, it comes with no annual fee compared to that of $550 for the Chase trifecta. And the Wells Fargo trifecta has some pretty decent benefits as well. And based on the average person spending, we saw the Wells Fargo trifecta out-earn the Chase trifecta. So if you're someone who flies economy and wants a simple 3-card setup to give you pretty solid value, then the Wells Fargo trifecta is a great option and should most definitely be considered. So tell me, have you looked into the Wells Fargo travel portal? Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in this video. If you want to help support the channel, a simple way would be links on the website or in the description below. And if you know somebody who could benefit from this video, feel free to share with them. And until next time, safe travels and take care.